So our objectives is to define social engineering kanina, shinare ni Kat, to identify the different types of social engineering, to understand the psychological perspective behind social engineering, to gain knowledge about the psychological harms, and to gain information about cybercrime and laws that can protect you from social engineering. So mag-start na po tayo mag-define ano nga po ba ang social engineering. So this is the term used for a broad range of malicious activities accomplished through human interactions. So it is usually called as psychological manipulation. So ito po yung term na ginagamit na mostly ibang tao nakakaalam. Pero ang social engineering kasi is common siya sa world of information and communication. So sa terms natin, it's psychological manipulation. So this is to trick users into making security mistakes or giving away sensitive information. So ano ba ang goal ng social engineering? So these are the things that they need, that they want to get from people. So we have personal information versus sensitive information. So ano ba ang pinagkaiba ng personal information sa sensitive information? So some examples of personal information includes an individual's name, address, phone number, birthday, signature, and email address. And para po malaman ninyo, sensitive information is also a part of personal information. Pero ang sensitive information po kasi, this may result in discrimination or harm kapag nagamit po sa maling paraan. Okay, so sensitive information is your race or ethnic origin, your religious beliefs, your organizations or trade union, your sexual preferences and gender orientation, criminal record, health information, genetic information, or biometric information. So yan po yung mga sensitive information. Later on, pag-uusapan natin kung paano nga ba ginagamit itong mga to ng mga nagbubudol-budol. Okay, so these are the different types of social engineering. So magbibigay lang ako ng mga common types ng social engineering para at least to raise awareness for the common people. Kasi usually itong mga to, nalalaman lang nung talagang merong yung mga involved sa social engineering. Pero ito, I think it's best na most Filipinos would really know about social engineering at kung ano yung mga different types nito. So first is baiting. Ano ba ang ginagawa sa baiting? Baiting attacks use a false promise to pique a victim's greed or curiosity. They lure users into a trap that steals their personal information or inflicts their systems with malware. So one example here is when you drop a flash drive, kapag nakawala kayo ng flash drive. Kasi usually, kapag nakawala kayo ng flash drive, di ba, hindi na natin alam kung kailan pa siya babalik. So, it's better not to get it anymore in case that you find it somewhere. Kunwari, nakita nyo, ay, nandito pala siya, naiwan ko dito. Pero ang alam niyo is niligay niyo lang siya sa isang place. For example, ang alam niyo nakalagay lang siya sa drawer. Pero magugulat kayo na sa ibang place na pala, nakita nyo kung nasaan man kayo last kumain, huwag niyo na pong pulutin kasi pwede po kayong pwede po mag-install yung mga nagbubudol ng virus, malware doon sa flash drive. And then once you take your flash drive and insert it in your computer units in your office or somewhere else, it might get the information in your company. So yun po yung nakakatakot kasi it will also breach the security of your workplace. And it might, wag naman sana sa bahay, your home, lalo na yung sa mga laptops na merong mga webcam, anything, nakakatakot yun. So next is we have scareware. Ano ba ang meron sa scareware? Users are deceived to think that their system is infected with malware. Ito yung mga usually nakikita ninyo sa mga emails na yung mga ads din, makikita niyo rin sa mga ads na meron yung warning, virus has been detected, mga ganun. So kahit na alam niyo namang wala pong virus or malware yung computer ninyo, pero may magpa-prompt na warning na ganyan, it means that someone is trying to get inside your computer. So, pag na-click nyo yun, yung mga yan, mga scareware na yan, baka pwede pong makapasok yung perpetrator and then it may really infect your laptop or your computer kahit na wala naman talaga. Okay, so this will only benefit yung perpetrator lang, syempre. Next is we have pretexting. Pretexting po is because it is false or it is pretending to be something else. Okay, so the scam is often initiated by a perpetrator pretending to need sensitive information from a victim to perform a critical task. So the attacker usually establishes trust with the victim by impersonating persons of authority. Ang ginagawa nila is they will get your information or i-stock ka muna nila for how many days. They can check your Facebook, saan ka ba nagtatrabaho, sino ba yung usually nakakasalumuha mo sa trabaho, sino ba yung boss mo, and then they can copy or impersonate the person na merong authority, and then they will try to target you, then get the information they need from you. So, yun po yung pretexting. Okay, so they will call or text you. Next is we have tailgating. So, tailgating is also called as piggyback riding. So, ano bang nangyayari dyan? So, someone without the proper authentication follows an authenticated employee into a restricted area, thereby gaining access to the targeted building or company. Okay, so this breaches company security. Someone may impersonate you or impersonate something, someone unsuspicious. For example, sino ba yung mga pumapasok sa company? Yung mga, siguro mga magkakabit ng internet, ganun. Pwede nilang i-impersonate yung mga yun na they can have access in your building na hindi nyo alam na manloloko pala tong taong to. And then they can get the security information of your company, which can target talaga ito yung mga tinatarget nila, yung mga malalaking company talaga, nakakatakot. Okay? So, dun pa lang sa entrance, na breach na, paano na kapag pumasok na dun sa mga servers or whatever, sa mga offices, kikita nila kung sino yung mga nandoon, yung privacy ng mga employees, mawawala. So next, we have phishing. So phishing scams are email and text message campaigns aimed at creating a sense of urgency, curiosity, or fear in victims, and this is done to anyone. Okay, so for phishing kasi, we also have what you call vishing or ito yung voice phishing, natatawag sila through call sa either telephone, cellphone, basta maririnig nila yung kausap nila. We also have smishing, yung ite-text. Tapos, dito sa smishing kasi, meron, kung napapansin nyo, meron yung mga nang i-scam, yung commonly known na yung mga, for example, yung mama, kailangan ko ng load, yun po yung mga kind ng smishing. Okay, kailangan ko ng load, may emergency lang sa school, ganito, ganyan. And then ikaw, na kung nasaktuhan na nanay ka and meron kang anak na nag-aaral somewhere else, matatakot ka, ka. So, luludan mo yung tao. Pero hindi naman talaga siya yung anak. Okay, so also we have spray and pray approach. So this one is mass emails to. So nag-email yung perpetrator sa maraming tao, sa random persons, random people, and then they pray na sana may mabit dun sa, or merong makakuha dun sa, merong maloko dun sa email na i-click na you have won 1 million pesos, something like that. Okay, so yun yung spray and pray approach ng mga nagfi-phishing. Also, we have the spear phishing. Ito po, ang tina-target na po is yung mga specific individuals. Usually, this is an effort, masyadong ma-effort to move nila. It may take 1 to 2 months na, 1 or more months na pag-aaral dun sa isang individual in order to get something from that person. Okay, lalo na kapag itong taong ito is from a big company, usually they target CEOs, presidents, yung mga may-ari ng mga businesses, ayan po. Yun po yung spear phishing po yung ginagamit sa mga yun, mga specific individuals. Ang tawag din po doon, kung isa-search ninyo, whaling. It's also called whaling. Kasi it's big fish. Big fish, di ba? Kasi yung mga malalaking tao, yung mga kilala, mga sikat na mga tao, or mga talagang high-end na mga tao, yung mga tina-target nila. Kaya siya big fish. And whaling. Okay, so let's go to the psychological perspective. Ano nga ba ang tumatakbo dun sa utak ng mga nagsa-social engineering? Okay, so i-explain ko po ito ng, I will try to explain it in a more in common terms para maintindihan niyo mabuti. Hindi na ako magsasabi ng mga jargons para maintindihan po ng lahat. So these are the terms. I'll explain it to you. So we're going to use social psychology. It is the scientific study of how people's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are influenced by the actual imagined or implied presence of others. So this is by Gordon Allport in 1998. So we also have psychological manipulation, a type of social influence that aims to change the perception or behavior of others through underhanded deceptive tactics by advancing only the interests of the manipulator. It is often the other's expense. Such methods could be considered abusive, devious, and deceptive. So nakakatakot po. We also have social perception. It's a way people seek to know and understand other persons and events, also known as social cognition. We have impression formation, refers to the process by how an individual integrates sources of information and inferences about another individual into a consistent overall judgment. Next is attitude formation. Attitude can be learned from direct experiences, from association, from rewards, or from observing others. We also have psychoanalysis. The primary assumption of psychoanalysis is the belief that all people possess unconscious thoughts, feelings, desires, and memories. Pag sinabi nating unconscious, ito po yung hindi natin napapansin. So, pero deep inside, gusto talaga natin or talagang iniisip natin pero hindi lang natin alam. We also have birth order. Birth order theory was developed by Alfred Adler in the 20th century. It stated that the order in which a child was born impacted his or her personality. So for a case study, we have here Frank Abagnale Jr.'s tale. So kung sino man ang sa inyo ang nakanood na ng Catch Me If You Can, ayan. So i-dissect natin or i-slice natin kung paano ba naging famous check forger or impostor si Frank Abagnale Jr. So mamaya, magpapakita ko sa inyo ng mga slides about the background of Frank. So sino ba si Frank? Frank Abagnale is a famous check forger and a con artist in the US. So ngayon, FBI siya, employed siya sa FBI. And also, buhay pa siya. Pero dun sa video kasi is, dun sa slides ko kasi is bata pa siya doon. So, very young siya. So, I will try to explain to you, pero may mga spoiler. Pero pag pinanood niyo siya, hindi naman kayo may spoil talaga ng bonggang-bongga. Okay, so first is, Frank Abagnale Jr. was born on April 27, 1948 in Bronxville, New York. So Abagnale was the third of 4 children born to parents Paulette Abagnale and Frank Abagnale Sr. So bakit po naka-highlight ang third of 4 children or third or 4? Pang-ilan siya sa magkakapatid? So 4 silang magkakapatid, pangatlo siya. So he is also considered as a middle child. So yung second tsaka siya, middle children po sila sa isang family. So ano po ba ang meron sa middle children? Diba usually kapag may naririnig kayo na middle child syndrome, ang ibig sabihin po ng middle child syndrome is itong mga to is meron silang different meron silang mga different traits na naninibabaw. And from makikita nyo sila, ma-detect nyo siya kapag papipilahin nyo yung mga magkakapatid kahit 3 sila, 4 sila, 5 sila. Makikita nyo kung sino ang middle child. Because the middle children are usually the ones who are creative. They are creative and usually ano kasi ang attention nila. Kasi usually the parents would focus on the eldest and the youngest. So, ang iniisip nung middle child or middle children, they would tend to think that nawawala yung attention ng parents sa kanila or sa kanila. Pero in the case of Abagnale, 4 sila kasi magkakapatid. So usually hindi siya ganun ka-spread. Hindi ganun yung attention ng parents niya are spread. So usually yung nangyayari lang na nagkakaroon lang ng personality changes would be dun sa mga maliliit na families with 3 children or 5 yung talaga maiipit yung panggitna na anak. Pero it does not necessarily happen all the time. Okay? So, case-to-case basis yan. Next is, Abagnale would later state that he had a stable childhood and was especially close to his father. So, according to a psychoanalytic perspective, close siya sa father niya. This is because he has resolved the issue of Oedipus complex. Kung naririnig din nyo yun, yung Oedipus complex po, yun po ay yung kapag ang anak na lalaki ay gustong pakasalan yung mother or is more close to the mother. So ngayon po, dahil po magkakaroon siya ng anxiety dyan, magiging aware siya na ang mother ay wala pong penis. So that's according to a psychoanalytic perspective po. Ang tawag po doon ay castration anxiety. So the castration anxiety is kapag ang bata ay natakot na mapuputulan siya ng penis. Okay, so nalaman niya na walang penis si mother and si father meron pong penis, so mas magiging close siya kay father para hindi siya putulan ng penis. So yun pang ibig sabihin ng castration anxiety sa psychoanalytic perspective. Pero that's not the case. Hindi ko naman ina-assume na ganun ang case nung kay Frank Abagnale. Pero dito po, ini-slice natin kung ano ba talaga ang meron. Okay, so na-resolve niya yung issue nun. He had a stable childhood. He is close to his father. So when his mother decided to leave Frank Sr. due to her husband's absences, younger Frank's life was turned upside down. So as a teenager, Abagnale got caught up in petty crimes including shoplifting. He soon grew tired of these practices, though, and decided to move into more sophisticated forms of burglary, social engineering. So dismayed over her son's delinquency, Abagnale's mother sent him to a school for wayward boys, undone by his father's newfound circumstances and caught between his parents' tensions. Abagnale reportedly left home at 16 years old. So 16 years old pa lang po si Abagnale, lumayas na po siya sa bahay nila dahil ano na siya sa divorce ng parents niya. Tapos yung pinalipat siya ng school and the other conduct disorders he had made or conduct problems na nagkaroon siya. Okay? So actually ito pala kung mapapansin niyo puro si Leonardo DiCaprio yung mga nasa GIF. Kasi siya po ay yung nag-portray dun sa movie nung life ni Frank Abagnale Jr. So next is Frank was very intelligent, which often impressed his father. However, he did not get any formal education kasi nga po naglayas siya, ayaw niya nang ituloy yung pag-aaral niya. And it was difficult for him to find a better paying job. He indulged in confidence tricks and wrote many personal checks to banks on his overdrawn accounts. He created several new identities and opened different accounts in many banks to sustain his tricks. So marami po siyang na-impersonate ng mga tao, hindi lang po isa. So iba't ibang identities ang impersonate niya, and then later on we will talk about that. So he used tricks such as dressing up as a security guard and stealing the money from airlines and car rental companies. He soon came up with a trick using which he would be able to travel the world without having to pay a single dime. Magaling siya kasi gusto niyang pumunta sa iba't ibang places na hindi siya gumagastos. So ang ginawa niya po ay meron po siyang in-impersonate na pilot sa Pan Am. So that's an airline sa place nila, and then nag-impersonate siya na pilot, and then naghanap siya ng uniform, and then nag-produce siya ng pilot's license. Then after he had enough of this trick, nagsawa na siya sa pagiging pilot, he went back to the US and assumed the identity of a doctor. Naging doktor naman siya. So marami siya napaniwalang tao. They see the confidence in his actions. Makikita niyo sa GIF. Very confident yung dating niya. Okay, so he realized that his lack of experience in the field could cost people their lives. Okay, so natakot din siya na baka meron siya, makasakit siya ng ibang tao, or baka may pasyente siyang lumala ang sakit dahil lang sa kanya. Okay, so his next target now was the law department of Harvard University. Diba? Ang galing niya, pati Harvard University talagang napeke niya. So he produced fake documents stating that he was an alumnus of the university. He studied very hard. Nag-aral lang siya ng mabuti for 2 weeks and passed the bar exam. You see, wala pa siyang educational attainment. So he did not graduate elementary, high school, or any formal education. Pero, nakapasa siya ng bar exam. Kasi nag-aral lang siya for 2 weeks. Very intelligent talaga si Frank Abagnale. So he then earned himself a job at Louisiana State Attorney General's office. He was only 19 years old then. So one of his co-workers was from Harvard. And when he asked Frank questions about his tenure there, Frank had no answers. So wala nang maisagot si Frank. Natakot siya na baka yung mga kasinungalingan niya ay ma-reveal or ma-booking na siya na hindi pala talaga siya lawyer. So umalis din agad siya dun sa pagiging lawyer niya. So after successfully escaping from the clutches of the police twice, he was caught eventually and was sent to a prison in Petersburg, Virginia in 1971. He served less than 5 years in prison and was released by authorities when they offered him a deal to help them out with fraudulent cases that were at an all-time high in the US. Okay, so yun po yung mga naging cases niya, yung pagiging fraud, nag-impersonate siya ng iba't ibang identities, yun po yung mga cases niya. And then he only served less than 5 years kasi tumulong po siya sa FBI. Okay, so Frank Abagnale met Kelly Ann while he was working with the FBI, and they got married soon and currently live in Charleston, South Carolina. They have 3 sons, Scott, Chris, and Sean. Okay, so yun po yung life ni Frank Abagnale Jr. So paano po ba yung cycle ng social engineering? Si Frank Abagnale Jr. is a con artist. So magaling siya sa pagtitrick ng mga tao. Magaling siya psychological manipulate ng mga tao. Okay, so hindi niya alam, hindi siya aware na nagmamanipulate na pala siya ng tao, pero alam niya yung mga goals niya kung bakit niya gagawin yung mga yun. Okay? So, a con artist or a fraudulent person o yung mga gumagamit ng social engineering has impression formation. So, dito maintindihan natin kung paano nila ginagawa. Paano ba sila nagsa-psychological manipulation ng ibang tao. So first, we have impressions and attitudes. We have impression formation and attitude formation. For impression formation, we have verbal cues and non-verbal cues. Kapag nakikipag-usap ka sa tao, kung paano yung tono ng pagsasalita mo, those are verbal cues. Kung paano yung diin ng pagsasalita mo, kung ano yung hina-highlight mo sa mga sinasabi mo, yun po yung mga verbal cues. We also have non-verbal cues. Ito yung mga gestures mo, yung body position mo, how do you sit in front of a person, are you leaning forward, are you leaning backward, naka-cross ba yung kamay mo while talking to a person, are you using your cell phone while you're talking to someone, ganun po, yun po yung mga non-verbal cues. Yung eye contact ninyo, okay, yun po yun. Then factors in communication effective for attitude change. So there are 4 factors in communication. So ito po yung communicator, yung perpetrator, or yung gumagamit ng social engineering. We also have communication channel, kung ano po yung ginagamit nilang paraan or way para ma-deliver nila yung sinasabi nila or yung scam. And next is the message, yung scam, kung ano bang klaseng scam yung gagawin nila. And lastly is the listener or yung victim dun sa communication exchange. So first, what makes a perpetrator? So a perpetrator must be credible. Katulad nung kay Frank Abagnale Jr., na-fake niya yung mga certificates niya, nag-graduate siya sa Harvard. Yun yung mga ways na ipakita niya na credible siyang tao. Na I can do this work. It's because I graduated from this school. Yun po yung pagpapakita niya ng credibility niya. Next is we have attractiveness. Okay, so Frank Abagnale Jr. is really attractive. Kung nakita niyo naman yung picture niya. So it has an effect on being a perpetrator. Bakit po ganon? Kasi meron po tayong tinatawag na halo effect sa psychology. Ang ibig sabihin po niyan is, kapag nakakita ka ng isang tao na sa tingin mo ay maganda or gwapo, you can also attribute characteristics to that person na, uy, mabait, mukha siyang mabait. Uy, para siyang matalino, mukha siyang matulungin. Yung mga good qualities na i-incorporate natin dun sa pagiging attractive ng isang tao. So that is what we call halo effect. And then also, if you project confidence, it can also add to being attractive. So si Frank Abagnale kasi, hindi lang siya gwapo, pero confident siya. That's why sobrang effective ng pagiging con artist niya. Next is they must have power. Paano po yung power? Kailangan nila i-project na they are of authority, na they can control the situation, they are able to give out rewards or punishments. So ito yung mga sa tingin, pag kausap ka na or pag binibate ka ng isang tao, ipapakilala nila yung sarili nila na you are a manager of some company or some business, and then kaya mo magpasahod ng ito and ganito, ganyan. And then they will get the information they need from you. Kasi they have to show their power para mas paniwalaan sila. So these are the methods of social engineering. So we have face-to-face versus online communication. So actually, studies show that personal meetings or face-to-face meetings are more effective in persuading people. Pero ang mass media or ang online meetings is more efficient kasi mas marami silang pwedeng ibiktima and maraming pwedeng ma-fall dun sa trap nila. So, yun yung difference ng face-to-face tsaka mass media sa effectiveness and efficiency. So, yun po yung yun po yung one type of method ng social engineering. Next is we have delivery speed. So fast talking will only be beneficial to the persuasive communicator when the listener is opposed to the communicator. So kapag nagsasalita kayo na mabilis and then you are talking to someone who is not really hindi nag-a-agree. So they are not they don't really agree with your message. Mas magiging persuasive yung message mo kapag mabilis kang magsalita. Okay? For example po, sa parents ninyo sa nung teenage years natin, kapag may gusto kayong puntahan, and then alam mo na they disagree with what you want to ask them. Okay? So, for example, gusto kong pumunta sa concert ni ganito, ganyan. Hindi mo siya kilala, pero maganda yung mga music nila. And then, pag mabilis yung talk mo, mas mapapersuade yung parent mo or kung saan ka nagpapaalam. And then, hindi na nila mapaprocess kung ano ba yung sinabi mo. And then, they will disagree. Okay, so, pero kapag ang tao is, they tend to agree to you more, it's more beneficial kapag slow talking ka. For example, meron kang award sa school, syempre kapag may gusto, syempre ang parents mo, pag may award ka sa school, gusto nila. So ikaw naman, kunwari pa, ka na, ma, alam mo ba, meron akong grade na line of 9 sa ganitong subject, diba, taasan niyo naman yung baon ko. So with slow talking, they can be persuaded with that. Okay, so next is we have speech style. So the powerful style projects confidence. So it may have a reverse effect with gender also. Kapag ang kausap mo ay babae, tapos babae ka, kailangan ng approach mo is neutral or same with the projection nung kausap mo. Pero kapag lalaki ka, tapos babae yung kausap mo, mas makikinig yung babae kapag hindi powerful yung speech style mo. Pero kapag lalaki ang kausap mo tapos babae ka, kailangan powerful yung speech style mo para mas maging persuasive yung dating nung makikipag-usap mo sa kanila. Okay, so it has an effect with gender. So how you project your confidence, your speech style, merong effect yan sa social engineering. So next is we have the message. So does the message appeal to the emotion? Yung scam nyo ba is nakakapagpasaya? Na-excite ba yung tao? You have 1 million pesos, sinong hindi ma-excite dun, di ba? So malulungkot ba sila na I'm sorry, but your account has been terminated, and so whatever. So if it appeals to the emotion and it arouses fear, it can be very effective. So lalo na tong arousal of fear kasi this may affect how the listener cope with the message and may make undesirable decisions. Okay, so kapag natatakot ka, gusto mo agad solusyonan yung problema para hindi ka matakot. So it's either a flight or fight response. It's either aalis ka or you will direct it head on. Okay, so later on, explain ko sa inyo kung bakit meron pa yung mga intelligent people na nai-scam or naniniwala sa mga fake news ngayon. Lalo na ngayong situation natin sa COVID-19 pandemic, marami pong mga naniniwala sa mga fake news. Bakit po ganun? Mamaya po explain ko sa inyo kung ano po ba ang naiisip nila. Okay, next is we have the organization of the communication. So one-sided messages convince others to adopt your perspective. Kapag nagbebenta ka ng isang bagay, gusto mo sabihin sa mga customers mo na maganda yung product mo, effective yung product mo. It's because you want to convince them to buy your product. Pero kapag two-sided messages ang i-portray mo, kung naaalala niyo po yung mga commercial noon sa TV, yung nagbebenta ng brand X and brand Y, yung sa sabon yun, parang dun sa panlaba, sabon ng panlaba, yung brand X saka brand Y, which is more effective. So it can persuade those who disagree in the perspective na, uy, maganda pala tong product na to, hindi ko naman alam, dito yan. Akala ko dati ganito ganyan. So next is we have resistance due to forewarning. This is the purpose is to disguise the goal until the last minute. Ano ba talaga ang goal mo sa pakikipag-usap? Hindi mo pa sinabi nung una. Kaya usually itong mga taong to, hindi sila mapapersuade kasi dinidisguise mo yung goal mo. For example, kung meron kayong narinig na somewhere sa friend mo or sa kakilala mo, may kakilala kayo nagsabi na, uy, Bes, alam mo ba na kapag manonood ka nitong video na to, makaka-ipon ka or makakakuha ka ng 50 pesos, 100 pesos per video. Siyempre ikaw, mapipik yung interest mo kasi, uy, yun lang pala yung gagawin ko, simple lang. And then, malalaman mo na kailangan mo pala mag-deposit ng specific amount so that matuloy yung account nyo dun sa sinasabi nung friend nyo. So, hindi nyo alam nung una pala na kailangan pa mag-deposit in order to you na kumita dun sa bagay na yun. So, yun yung mga nagiging resistance ng mga tao kapag hindi sinabi agad yung goal sa umpisa pa lang. So, next, we also have resistance due to inoculation. So, a strong belief cannot be wavered with a weak disposition. Okay. Di ba ang turo sa atin noon, and it's common knowledge na kapag kumain ka ng fruits together with your meal is mas magiging healthy kayo. Pero kapag someone else would tell you na, alam mo ba kapag kakain ka ng prutas after mo kumain, magkakasakit ka. Parang hindi ka maniniwala kasi weak yung disposition niya. Ano ba ang basis ng sinasabi niya? Common knowledge is if you eat fruits after a meal, magiging healthy ka. Okay, so you get my point. That's just an example. Okay, so magiging resistant yung tao kapag weak yung disposition mo, tapos strong belief niya yung tina-target mo. Okay, now, this one is very important kasi any one of us can be victimized. Kasi kahit sino naman, kahit po ako, pwede din po ako mabiktima kasi hindi naman po lahat alam ko. So, we have intelligence, education, and self-esteem as one aspect of being victimized. So, two-sided communication works well with highly educated persons. Okay, so ito na po yun sinasabi ko kanina, bakit meron po pa rin po yung mga matatalinong tao na naniniwala sa fake news. So, usually kasi intelligent people are trusting in nature. And they have a fear of missing out. Gusto nila, alam nila kung ano bang nangyayari agad. Nung una, di ba, merong news na the community quarantine will be lifted, ganyan. Tapos puro share naman yung mga tao. Pero wala pang news. Kasi they want to be the first one to give out the information and they have a fear of missing out. Dapat alam nila. And they are being desperate. And hindi po natin masisisi yun kasi syempre, as intelligence, intelligent people can be also competitive. So, everybody else is also doing it. So, yun ang iniisip din nila. Okay? So, next is the mood. Kapag good mood ka, you have a higher chance of being persuaded. Kasi ayaw mo masira yung mood mo. So, kung ano man yung ibabato sa'yo, sige lang, go lang, okay lang. However, it impacts the listener's tendency to think carefully about the communication. The same goes with being bad mood. Kapag bad mood ka rin, reject ka lang din ng reject ng idea ng iba. Okay? So, in order to think or decide clearly, you have to be in a neutral mood. So, hindi ka good mood, hindi ka rin bad mood. Sakto lang. Yun po yung yun po yung time na pwede po kayong mag-decide. Next is your involvement. Are you involved? The higher chances of involvement is the higher the chances of being persuaded. Kasali ba tayo dyan? Okay, so sabi ni Vico Soto, kasama po ang lahat. Mabibigyan ng ayuda, okay? So, kung balik tayo kay Frank Abagnale Jr., yung mga ini-scam niyang mga tao, involved ba sila? So, ano bang makukuha nila kapag naniwala sila doon sa sinasabi niya? Okay? For example, kapag in-scam ka ng or binibait ka, tatawagan ka, sabihin na, your bank account in this specific bank lost 1,000 pesos. So, malaking halaga ang 1,000 pesos. So, ikaw naman, kakabahan ka na. There's an arousal of fear. So, matatakot ka and you want to solve that problem agad-agad. Kahit na wala naman talaga natatanggal sa account mo. And then they will only get your bank details, information mo, and then di mo alam, instead of just 1,000, lahat na pala natanggal kasi binigay mo yung information na yun sa tao. Okay? Kasi there's a higher involvement. Involved ka dun eh. Okay? So next is we have selective attention. This is a filtering mechanism. So where is your focus at? What do you worry about? Usually ito, kung maalala nyo, ito po yung sinasabi nating zoning out. Yung kapag, for example, sa classroom, di ba, kapag nagtuturo yung teacher, and then yung ibang students is nakatulala na lang somewhere, nakatingin sa bintana, outside, anywhere. Kasi parang yung attention na nila is focused somewhere else. Ano ba yung nakakapagbigay ng interest sa kanila? Yung subject matter ba? O kung may nakita ba sila naglalaro sa labas, gusto nila manood, and so on. So that is selective attention. Next is we have altruism and social influence. So tayo kasi, lahat tayo, human nature is, we are born altruistic. Or ito yung pagiging matulungin ng isang tao. So we also have two types of altruism, egoistic and altruistic. Egoistic altruism is you want to help other people because you get something from it. Na kapag tutulungan mo itong taong to, is sasabihin ng ibang tao is, uy, ang bait naman niya, tinulungan niya ito, and so on. Pero ang altruistic altruism is they do not get anything in return. So, they will help other people without getting anything in return. So, tutulong na sila for the sake of helping. So, that's one method how we get victimized. Okay, so sometimes meron to nangyayari sa situation natin na a hospital may be in need of face mask, alcohol, and so on. Tapos, magpo-post ng ganun. And then, hindi mo alam kung legit ba talaga yung hospital na yun. Tapos, nag-send ka naman ng mask and alcohol and whatever. Tapos, yung pagsasendan mo, yun pala, gagamitin niya to sell. So, that's one scam. Okay, that's one kind of scam. Kasi syempre ikaw, gusto mong tumulong eh. So, you may be targeted because of your being helpful. Pero hindi ko naman sinabing wag naman kayong maging matulungin. Okay, so I just want you to be all careful. So we also have social influence, conformity, obedience, and compliance. So conformity is when you conform because of fear of deviance, kasi ito po ang sinasabi ng majority, you just conform or you just agree to do something. Okay? Next is obedience. So you are being obedient, willing to do something without receiving anything. And then being compliant is willing to comply to get something we want. So, parang kapag gusto mo makapag-take ng exam, kailangan mong tapusin yung clearance nyo. Okay? So, next is the laws and where to report. So, social engineering is a crime. So, it violates Data Privacy Act. Ito po yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, yung disclosure for personal info and sensitive info. So, kanina, sinabi ko sa inyo yung difference niyan. Mas mataas po ang sanction ng pag-disclose ng sensitive information. Next is we also have Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. So, yan po yung mga offenses, computer-related forgery, computer-related fraud, computer-related identity theft, aiding or abetting or accessory to the crime, attempt pa lang, meron ka ng kaso. Okay, so where do you report? So we have PNP, Anti-Cybercrime Group. So sa Facebook po, yan po yung page nila. Tapos yung email po. And then sa NBI po, Cybercrime Division. We also have National Privacy Commission. Please remember this kasi very important po ang National Privacy Commission dahil lahat po tayo meron tayong Data Protection Act. So, or Data Privacy Protection Act. So, makikita nyo po dyan sa website nila kung ano po meron doon. And then, dyan po kayo magko-complain in case of attacks na ganitong social engineering. So, the same with the ICT or Department of Information and Communications Technology. So, ito po yung mga contact details nila. So, pwede po bang maging legal ang social engineering? Actually, it's common everywhere. It happens everywhere. Okay, so binigay ko example kanina is yung commercial. So, commercials, advertisements, and media, they use social engineering, pero in a legal matter. Okay, so to increase their business, siyempre kapag, for example, kapag nagbebenta ng yung 99 pesos, naakala natin mura pa yung 99 pesos, pero papunta na sa 100 pesos. So isipin nyo is, afford ko pa to kasi hindi pa siya umabot sa 3 digits. Pero piso na lang ang lamang. So that is their technique in enticing people to buy their product. So we also have law and justice. So it happens in courtrooms and criminal investigations. Diba? So dito kasi, diba, kung napanood nyo na yung How to Get Away with Murder, diba? Yung mga lawyer doon talagang pinapressure nila yung mga witnesses or kung sino mang involved na magsabi ng information na sila rin mismo hindi nila alam na totoo or hindi nila alam na yun pala talaga ang nangyari. So this happens also in law and justice. So the conclusion of our talk po is it takes a calm mind to make careful decisions, be grounded, huwag kayong kabahan, breathe in, breathe out before you make a decision. And then, kapag na-scam po kayo, everything happens for a reason. Okay? So, it's a learning, it's an experience. Alam na natin kung ano na po ang susunod nating gagawin. So, thank you po for listening sa napakahabang talk. Extend na ako ng time. Sorry. Ayan. So, thank you po, DICT and Hack the North for inviting me.